but it was like nearly 8 years ago. I sat in my desk and I cried because I was miserable in a position that did not feed me. I fed them, but they didn't feed me. As an educator, I am not a test taker. So I took my test 18 times and I failed. I lost my job doing this career change that I could not find a job, but the jobs I found was $15 an hour. So I couldn't make it like that. So I had to go into another direction and I went to education.
I am so honored to welcome Dr. Veronica Johnson, who is going to share her journey tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. When I think about my journey, I think about turmoil, difficulties, and problems that I experienced because I started off being a nursing major. And so I'm like, oh my God, I want to take care of the sick and the shut in. And it didn't turn out that way. I got all the way to clinicals and I flunked out. I did not want to do like blood work, did not want to do take care of patients. I was just like, oh no, this is not going to work. So I had to detour, change my major, go to a different school, and I end up graduating with a degree of psychology and sociology. I did not know doing this career change that I could not find a job, but the jobs I found was $15 an hour. So I couldn't make it like that. So I had to go into another direction and I went to education. And there I found my love. I love kids anyway, but I found a passion for teaching kids. I found a passion for helping kids. I have taught in a private school for elementary, second and third grade. I then moved on to middle school where I taught English language arts. And then finally, my big destination is when I got to high school. I love middle school and high school are really my favorite, but high school, I can kind of dig the language that they're talking and I can understand them. And I have a relationship with the high school students. So a positive working relationship. So when I got start teaching and I had to go into online learning lab, I didn't want to go into computer lab. I wanted to do something else. I said, this is not what I want to do. I fought against it. And God said to me, you could be cleaning toilets. So I went to my assistant principal. I said, hold up, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll do it. So I started doing credit recovery. And so when I started doing credit recovery, I was like, oh my God, this is so unique. Kids were recovering credits. And it got boring after I stayed at the high school for a while. I said, this is not what I want to do. I want to do something else. So I left that school, opened another school, stayed 2 years there. I was like, okay, got something else. So I ended up leaving and going to the ninth grade campus at a slower pace. And I thought I wanted to be assistant principal. So I applied, I got my certification to be assistant principal. I started doing things, helping out with discipline, helping assisting with curriculum. I was the go-to person. Call Miss Johnson, she'll be able to help. And I learned a lot, but I never got the job. I never got the job. So finally, I sat in my desk. It was fall. I'm not going to say the year because I don't really remember the year, but it was like nearly 8 years ago. I sat in my desk and I cried because I was miserable in a position that did not feed me. I fed them, but they didn't feed me. But they utilized my skills and I felt like they were penalizing me. Sometimes when you're good, you don't get an opportunity to move on in advance. And because I was good at what I did, they wanted to hold me in that position and not accelerate me. So I was like, okay, God, I cried and I listened to Lauren Daigle and the song is I Will Trust You, God. And I sat at my desk and I cried and God said, do you trust me? I said, yes, Lord. He said, who are you working for? You working for her? You working for me? I said, I'm working for you. So he said, well, dry your face. We get ready to go to work. And after that, I started applying for assistant principal jobs and I didn't get it. And so then he said, I said, God, I know you said you're going to move me, elevate me, but can you give me a taste of what's to come? He did. I interviewed one job. I went to interview at 9:30. They called me to come back for 1 o'clock. So to have an interview twice in the same day, that was like, oh, you're the one. I didn't get it. But I did get another position, coordinator of online learning, and I work in Aldine ISD. And that position has grown me. My boss has taught me how to go out and be seen, go out and support people. Because when I first got a job, I was, didn't want to go out. I was nervous. How am I going to be received in this leadership position? And I love it. I'm able to go out and support students. I support teachers. I oversee 17 high schools, over 50 employees. And I when I make sure the kids are supported, but I also make sure the teachers are supported, especially if you're new teachers, they're nervous and everything. So I make sure that they're comfortable in their new position in the online learning lab, because people think when you go into online learning, oh, it's an easy job. No, it's busy. You got to make sure kids are in the right course. You got to make sure they complete the course. It's just a lot to do. So my journey, I don't take anything from it because I'm where I am because of what God has done. All the challenges, all the turmoils, I don't give anything for my discovery of who I am. Nursing, I wouldn't have liked that. I don't think I think I would have passed out. I don't like blood, okay? I don't like blood at all. So I don't think I would have done anything with that. So I'm
Well,
happy.
first, thank you so much. I think the audience can feel your passion. I feel your passion today. Obviously, I've known you only as an educator, right? In all the years that we've known each other, and I would say even not knowing all the specifics, but you can glean that even from what you put on social media, right? Like I think, um, a lot of times we don't think about how we project, how we feel about our jobs, and I think that's how we even got connected here of talking about
Yeah.
this because you always share. Like I always go back to remembering like your pictures and posts you'll put in your office, pictures there, sharing those different things. And I want to go back to a couple of things that you said because one, I think this episode is going to be so great because we've talked to educators before, but I think it is such a time, right, for educators, particularly when we think in metro markets and in very diverse cities, right, that we still haven't talked about their recovery since COVID, right? And
Yeah.
what school districts have been through when we think about cities like Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, that have a high BIPOC student population that lost funding, and teachers are just so discouraged. And there's going to be a teacher looking at you with your passion that's excited about that. And I want to dig into that for a minute because it's rare. And I know you know better than I. So when you think about where you are today,
Mhm.
what encouragement has kept you just with this vigor and excitement for educating? And who's maybe been a really big part of that for you?
Well, first and foremost, when I went to school, elementary school, what I can remember, in fourth grade, I did not know how to divide. I could multiply all day. So my mom would do my homework at night for me because I could not do it. I didn't know how to do it. And she would just do it for me. So I got so comfortable with her doing it for me. I never tried to do division. But I met Miss Baker. Oh my God. Miss Baker was my sixth grade teacher. She sat down and showed me how to do division. Once she showed me how, I had a love for teaching, but I had a love for people that may not be. I don't like the AP kids. Nothing wrong with them. I like the kids that struggle, and you tell me they can't do it, and I can show you different. So because someone took the time to work with me, I knew I had to pour back into the system. I was at Addicts Middle School in Sunnyside, and I remember Miss Baker. That is my favorite teacher. I don't know if she's living or not, but I know she has to be about 80 something years old right now because I'm in my 50s. She changed my whole idea about education. And right now, we have good teachers, but teachers are not invested as they were before. Back when I graduated high school 87. So that says a lot about who I am. But teachers are not as invested is because we have all these laws and litigations going on, and you have different personalities, you have different pay scales. Teachers are not paid what they're worth. I feel like that teachers should go in the classroom making 80,000 or more because they are not valued, and because they're not valued, people drop off. People used to leave their contract at the end of August or July. They don't leave. They'll leave right now and don't come back. I remember I was at one school. I'm not gonna name the school. I'm not gonna even name the district. The teacher walked in on the first day and left the second day, never came back because of the atmosphere. Everybody is not familiar with working with minority students, and minority students sometimes does not necessarily have the means like other people. They don't have. Some of them have two-parent homes. Some of them do not. Some of them do not have the resources. They are low income. Not all of them. And those type of challenges, everybody can't deal with. Right now in some school district, we have a lot of homeless students, and a lot of homeless students, they don't have, the hygiene. They don't have. So what we try to do in our department, we do a lot of We buy snacks and different things to when we go out to, because I oversee the lab teachers and online learning, but I also oversee the virtual teachers. And the virtual teachers are the ones that support initial credit courses. If a student has never seen English 1A, we have a teacher support with the lab teacher. So you have two teachers. You have the lab teacher and you have the virtual teacher. So they work hand in hand with the students. So the virtual teachers help go out and they give kids treats, different things to help motivate them to finish school. If you think about it, if you were a student and no one motivates you and teaches you're failing everything, and some of responsibilities on the kids, some of it's on the teacher, but kids that don't have that support, they tend to hide in the background. They are overaged in school. We have fifth year seniors in some campuses. So to be able to go in and say, listen, baby, I know you got to work. I know you from another country. And one young lady, I'm not gonna mention her name, but she is from another country and her mother's deceased. She lives with her dad. The dad couldn't afford to take care of her. She lives with her aunt. She had to recover credits to graduate from high school. She works two jobs. And I just told her, I said, baby, I know your story. I said, but I'm not making any excuses for you. We're gonna finish these classes. We're gonna work on the weekends, whatever you have to do. You gotta go work. You can't go to work today. You gotta go to work the next week. I need you to get finished. She was so mad at me. She was crying. I can't stand it. She told the math teacher, I don't like her. She's mean to me. But she finished her classes and she's graduating. So I think to be able to pour into kids that are less fortunate, pour into educators that feel like I can't do this, it's too much. And I would give prizes to teachers. I would say, okay, listen, whoever has the most completions, I'm going to go in and give you a period off. If you have 7 periods in a day, come in your worst class period and take your class period for a day. You have to be able to support your educators. You got to be able to support your teachers, and you got to be flexible. You can't take things personal. Lord help me. Please get rid of all the people that walk around here with sensitive feelings, and they cuss me out. Kids are gonna curse you out, staff's gonna curse you out, but you can't carry that. Who does not have a bad day? Don't you have a bad day sometimes? I've always had bad.
Often, very often. Yeah.
Yes. So, well, you can't take it personal when a kid calls you a B or whatever, whatever language they use. They don't mean it. They got something going on. And some of the kids, when you pull them out and talk to them, they're upset because they haven't eaten breakfast.
Yeah.
They didn't eat it. They didn't have a meal last night. Like I said, what's sad, we have so many homeless kids and you won't even know it
Yeah.
unless
It's not
you
talked
see.
about. It's not talked about. I think
It's like,
when most people, I'll speak for myself. I think, the limited view, I think the worst people think about is maybe someone that's aged, you know what I mean? Maybe they're older and there's some complications that they have, or even just like maybe with free lunch or things like that, but not thinking, that the kid is not sleeping, right? To your point, or
yeah,
is trying to figure out where they're going between this day and the next day. Like I don't think that that's talked about a lot, and I'm sure that's something that they don't want shared, right? Like
yeah,
so it would be hard, and you could just think about even the demographics of teachers, right? When you think a lot of the tenure is leaving, and I'm not sure what it is in the district that you're in, but some of
mhm,
the things we study as well, like I've been studying like the percent of teachers that are within that 1 to 5 years, right? I think
they
recently this
getting
year is
they're
so
getting out
high.
quick.
Yeah. And it's the number, right? To your point, it's the turnover, but that's the majority of where teachers are. You're losing a lot of the tenure as well. So that's going to be hard, right? You're new on your job, having to deal with those complexities. So
Yes.
what advice did maybe you got earlier in your career that you would give maybe a first, maybe a teacher that's within their first 3 years that you feel like helped you?
Well, when I first started teaching, like I said, I started out at a private school. I
Mhm.
taught second and third grade, and I'm just gonna tell you, I was a horrible teacher. I gave homework every day. I was turn it in, write your number, write your spelling words 5 times, write your timetables. I mean, I just packed down homework that the kids were like, oh my God, it's just. I mean, they excelled. They did well at that time. They were taking the hour test of basic skills, but at the private school, I didn't have proper training. I didn't have staff development. I didn't have anybody that I know I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't have anybody to mentor me and show me what I needed to do. So when I got into the school district, that's when you had a mentor. Someone kind of trained me, try to assist me. Okay, no, we don't do that. We in most public schools now they don't give homework anyway. The people that have homework are the people that have classes is online. Because if you don't do it online, if you don't do it at home, you don't do it at school, you're not gonna finish. So I think anybody that's new, first 3 years of teaching, you need a mentor. You need a good, you need a, not just a mentor, you need a, I guess, resources, a network system. That's what I'm going to say. You need a network system, because if your mentor is not available, you need to be able to go to your department chair. You need to be able to go with your good girlfriends who also are new, or been there for maybe 5 years, or like I say, 10 to 15. They're trying to stay because I don't know what else I want to do. We have a lot of people that come in from the business industry, like engineers come in and they teach after they see, oh, well, I can't deal with behavior kids. I'm leaving. They leave and go back to the industry. When they get laid off, they come back in. So it's just a lot of turnover. And a lot of people leave one district and go to the next, and you find out that's worse than where I came from. Let me go back. Let me run back to this district. So just to be able to get a mentor, have a network of people that are able to assist you. You need to be able to have a strong background. How do you do with behavior? I tell you, a lot of times the teachers that make it, the first day of school, you set order. You set your expectations. You can't, if you start Monday, you need to start with expectations, what's expected. If you wait until Friday to set your rules and order, whatever, you've lost your kids. Your year is gonna go horrible. On the first day of school, I want people to think I wanted people when I was in class, I want them to think I was a pit bull. Kids will come in. We're not talking. We're not talking. What is Jesus talking to you? Because I don't want to hear nobody else. If he's talking to you and you answer him, but nobody else you need to answer. When I set it up and like that, eventually we can pull the onion back a little bit. Okay. Oh, she is nice. Oh, and I had people in my room that were able to run my classroom. I didn't have to do anything. The kids ran it. I mean, I was in charge, but I had somebody to pass out folders. I had someone to take roll. They ran the room like nothing. I could go to Kroger's, Domino's Pizza, Shipley Donuts, Burger King. Not that I would leave, but my kids, I didn't have to do anything. Behavior, I didn't have a problem. I never had any fights in my room. I ran the room. The kids ran the room. And if there was an issue, if someone said something out of place, my kids would say, "Hey, we're not doing that here with her. We respect Miss Johnson." I don't have to do anything. But you have to set that your first day has to flow. If it does not flow, you're gonna lose your kids. And then you're gonna be frustrated.
Yeah. And I want to punctuate some of the things that you're saying in a very practical way, but are very profound.
Hmm.
And we talk about this, and I think these skills that you're bringing up go across every industry, right? But to your point, people struggle as they make pivots in their career
Yeah.
applying it. So the first thing I heard you saying, I want to make sure for all of our teachers that you're taking a note, or if you're not and you know someone that is, this is a good part to say, hey, listen to these steps that a seasoned professional that has
Yes.
had success in multiple different areas, right? In
Yes.
different areas in education. One, I heard you say a mentor, right? And you were very specific about the mentor, someone that has been there in this time frame, 5 to 10 years, right? Because in most jobs, your first year, right, you're learning. The second year, you're repeating yourself. So you're actually knowing what you needed to learn, right? Like, because that first year is kind of just happening to you. The second year, you're like, oh, this is first day of school, right?
Yes.
This is why they told me to do this. And then your third year, you're getting your stride. So to your point, someone that's in that first 2, 3 years with you, that's in that cohort of being new, is probably that's your peer group, not mentors. Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you were very
Exactly.
specific of 5 to 10 years because now this person has a proven track record, can share some pitfalls. And
Yeah.
what I also heard, which we talk about all the time, and Candace, one of our co-founders, she talks about that board of directors, and we all have a different way that we talk about it. I've done
Mhm.
episodes on it as well. But a lot of times, a lot of new professionals don't know what seats they need at the table. So to
Yes.
your point, you know what I mean? Like it's like, hey, I need a mentor, but what do I need the mentor to do? Like I'm just struggling. I need somebody to help me, but I don't even know what I need. And you gave many examples of that. Somebody that if you struggle with conflict, that person can help you with conflict management, right? This
Yes.
person can maybe help you navigate from relationships here. Who is somebody that may be organized? So when you think about that, I love those tips of like from the mentorship and who can help. Is there any other things that you think, or from like other seats or different people that have helped you, or that you would suggest new teachers add to their network to help them retain and also find enjoyment in their job?
Well, I think also procedures. You
Mm,
need somebody that's very detailed with procedures. I have a calendar book, and I just, for example, anything I have to do, I have to write it down. Now, I do have one on my phone. I have a calendar on my phone on my desk of everything I have to do, but I also write it down. And once you have your procedures in place of what you're doing, what lesson you're doing, and because it's online, the teachers in the lab are doing so many different things. They have to check their dashboards, they have to unlock tests, they have to make sure the kids are taking notes if they fall short on something. They may have to reset the activity if the students are not doing well. So you want to make sure that they have their procedures packed. Once you have your procedures down packed, everything else is just standard. Okay, when you come in, you're gonna check the dashboard. You're gonna once you come in, you're gonna see if you need a test unlock. So once you train your kids to have those set procedures, the rest is history. The rest is history. And I love when I see someone, I go in somebody's classroom and I see procedures on the board and I see what is your daily routine, processes in place, that classroom functions well. When I see a teacher that does not have anything on the board, or I feel like I can't work in chaos. I have to have structure. And I guess what I love most about, since I've been in my district for over 20 years, that the first thing I learned about my district is that we have procedures. We have a procedure for this. We have a standard for this. We have reach out to this person for this. And sometimes it may not be that person, but they'll send you to another person. Once you get that down, you should be good to go. Then also self-care. Oh my God, that's another thing. You have to be able to take care of yourself. And I tell we have a lot of teachers that are out now. Illnesses come and so many different things going on. If it's not you, it's your family members, your child, it's your parent. You need to be able to do self-care. If it's on the weekend, sometimes when you get home, when I first got married, I like to cuddle and I like to run and check on my husband. My husband taught me how to treat him. Okay, baby, I love you, but I need time to myself. I didn't realize how much that was until we started growing in our marriage. And when I get home, I need time to digress. I need time to just relax and let me get myself together. I got this going on. Then when he gets home, I give him his time. Then we'll come back together. At dinner time, we'll come back together. Hey, baby, how was your day? Is everything? You need time for yourself. You need time for self-care. If it's getting your nails done, if it's getting a massage, if it's getting go jogging, if it's taking your pet outside or going for a walk, you need time for you so that you can clear your mind about everything that happened. You had a bad day. Today didn't go well. Okay, let me take time if it's reading your Bible, if it's praying, if it's meditation, you need time for you. So procedures in place, then make sure you have self-care. And I tell people all the time, if you don't have self-care, you're gonna self-destruct.
Yes.
And how many people have meltdowns at work?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, they're out. They're
Yes.
out. I love those tips. I want to make sure, right, as we're moving on in
Uh-huh.
regards to like people taking notes, because this is new, right? These are things
Yes.
like you started with your career being one of triumph, right? You
Yes.
learning of this and you're here today standing strong and happy, right? In your job and in your
Yes.
marriage and the things that you're doing. And I just want to make sure people didn't miss that because no matter what industry you're in, like Jamila, one of our co-founders, she, I would say, is the queen of standards and procedures.
Yes.
And I love when I hear you saying that, you and I are in this organization when we start with that procedures manual, right? It's
That's
like
right. That's right.
you could think it's a certain way, but there's actually an order. And I love
Mhm.
that because you can be offended or think something's there, but there's actually a reason, whether you agree with the reason, there's a
Yes.
reason things are happening that way. And that could help you manage your emotional diet because you can be getting puffed up about something that's like, actually, that was in your handbook. Actually, that was covered in your orientation.
That part.
Actually, that was at, that was at
Yes.
when we started off the dish. Did you go? Were you listening? And when you're new, somebody able to bring you to those resources, I think is just invaluable because you can be spinning your wheels creating things that there's already something in place for that.
Already in place.
So I,
And
I love that tip. I love that. And it doesn't change. And I think one thing you had mentioned before of like when you're coming from a different industry, right? And we have a unique situation
yes.
in Houston, particularly of like with oil and gas, right? People go back and forth engineering, what you mentioned, because they're on contracts. And it's almost like education is a fallback for them. And they're not successful there when they're coming or enjoying. It's just from a check perspective. But I think I love what you said because like there's a book that is called The First 90 Days and you're in different situations, right?
Mhm.
So to your point, if you're in this season where this district or this school is in a turnaround, you bringing up standards and procedures, you understand, and you may have a boss that's being very directive because, hey, you didn't meet your test scores last year. So you're going to get more touches. You know what I mean? Like it's going to
Amen.
be, you're in people's classroom more if there's failing scores, right? Like,
Yes.
hey, and if you understand that it's not about you, it's a good point. So if somebody's going through that and you're in a school that's in that way, or, maybe in a district, or there's some things you don't understand, I just think that's valuable note to just pause and find somebody that can help explain the whys for you.
You know, some of the problems that people have is they don't like their leader, they don't like the principal, whatever. And I found that most principals, the ones that I admire the most,
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they set the standard. This is what we're doing. And I found out that if you're doing your job, if you're doing, you come to work on time, if you're on duty, if you're not sending students to the restroom when they don't need to go, when they first come to your class, they should already be using the restroom. If you're not doing the simple things, you can't get mad at the leader. You can get mad at yourself. Oh, I don't like him. I don't like her. I don't like her. But standards and procedures are in place for a reason. Because if you don't, then you have chaos. And with chaos comes confusion and all this other stuff. So I love the fact that some principals have everything that they need. They have the leaders, they have, okay, I have my APs are doing this, my counselors are doing this, my teachers are doing this, all the teachers stand at the door. That's standard procedure. You need to greet your students. Some kids don't have a hello, goodbye, or anything when they leave their home. Their mother or father probably leaves early in the morning, go to work. They get on the bus. So if you're standing at your door and tell your students good morning and greeting them, that's something. Oh my goodness. On TikTok and LinkedIn and all these places, you see kids when they go in YouTube, they go in the door and they have a special handshake or whatever. That's inviting. I want to go to that class. Oh my goodness. When I was in the classroom, people would try to skip their class to come to mine. Oh, Miss, no, you can't skip. I need your teacher. First of all, you need to be in your class. If your teacher says okay, but I need you to be in your classroom. But they came to my class because you're gonna get your work done. If the teacher said, now, I'm not saying people leave their classroom because they're not, but kids came to my class because there were some expectations. Oh, when I come in there, she's not gonna let me talk. I get my class done. And I was calling parents, and guess what? I speak enough Spanish to communicate with parents to let them know something's wrong. So when I called the house and the parents, I feel like it's broken Spanish, but they were like so appreciative. La maestra calling, su casa. Oh my God, they respect me high regards. I'm calling, I'm telling the kids need to come to school, they need to get their work done. I built relationships, and that's another thing. You got to build a relationship with your team members, with your students, with your parents, with the counselors, with the administrators. The teachers, I'm pretty sure assistant principals know automatically when they get a note from Miss Wilson. Oh God, this is the fourth referral today. You know what I'm saying? It kind of puts it kind of makes them not believe anything you say. If you got to send a kid out every day, it's classroom management. So standards and procedures, being able to follow up and reach out to, if you need help, that's one thing, but you should be able to problem solve. What's in your manual that says when a kid does something, what are you supposed to do? Not send him out because he's chewing gum. Oh, he got to get out because he's chewing gum. Oh, he coughed 3 times. He got to go. That's not going to work.
Yeah, I love that. And to your point, the standard and procedures in your room, what you're doing, understanding that. And the other point around self-care. I love that. I talk a lot about just even my journey and what I've learned. And I gleaned that from what you were talking about of like I was expecting my job and boss to be so much for me. It was almost kind of like this parental kind of relationship when I first started my career. And that's what I got from you of like, I'm wondering why I'm tired or these things. And you see that so much with young professionals and not just young professionals, but thinking that the supervisor has to tell you when to take off or how to manage your workload. Like no one's telling you to take your work home, like what's getting in the way of you doing that. So I love that nod of like, how do you have a procedure? How do you have knowledge to know what you need every day? And I think it's so timely of like also the season that we're in, right? Like people having actual mechanisms of self-soothing. What is that for you? And you gave some really great tips. And at this point, right in my career, I know what I need to do every day. I like to work out. I used to work out in the evening. Now I know, for instance, I need to do that in the morning. And if I don't,
Yes.
I'm off. Like I know my energy at the middle of the
Yes.
day, right? I know what day of the week I usually don't have much energy, right? Like I know when I'm getting short, and you have to learn that. So I love that tip, and I think that's where having work friends can also help you as well, right? Because I think that's a part of getting enjoyment in job, because most of the things we do, we don't like everything about our job, but if you like the people you're doing it with. So really great nuggets. Um, and before we wrap on this, you did talk about professional development for yourself.
Mhm.
And I don't want to get out of here without discussing that. And you don't have to go through all of your accreditations and degrees, but I know you kind of glanced over of starting with nursing, where you got that, but you've continued to up level and continue to seek education. What was the motivation with that? Because that takes a lot. I know you talked about Triumph and we started there, but that, like, what has led to that piece for you of like not only finding joy and this career development and different opportunities, but I do want to take a moment before we wrap to also talk about how you have continued to up level yourself and educate yourself as well, continue to enhance your skills.
Well, I want to say this first and foremost. I got to tell this little part before we go.
Yes.
As an educator, I am not a test taker. So I took my test 18 times and I failed. I lost my job, but God kept me. I got another job. I was still in teaching and I passed my test the 19th time. I want to make sure we understand that. So when I was in a struggle with what I needed to do for myself to sustain myself and support my family, I was in survival mode. But what really got me and kept me is the fact that my faith in God. I was on the board of quitting. Just say, I told my dad, I'm going to quit education. I'm done. I'm just going to go in business for myself. My dad said, "You foolish woman." He hung up in my face. So that was good medicine for me. But after I passed my test, I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to continue elevating myself. And then I had to stop going to school because I ran out of money. My daughter was in third grade. And I was like, okay. I said, God, at that time, I had to be a mom. I had to forget about school for a minute and think about mom mode. Okay. My daughter was in volleyball. My son had already graduated. He graduated when she was in third grade. So she was in third grade. After she finished, she did swimming, she did volleyball, she did all this, she did club volleyball. So I had to be a mom and a wife. I didn't get to go to college. So, and then I owed a balance of $4,000 at the school that I, so I also have a side business when I tutor. One of my parents paid off that account and I was able to go back to school. So what motivated me is the fact that God allowed me to get my daughter out of the way and send her to school. Once she got out of the way, God then said, okay, now it's time to get back in the saddle and finish what you started. Now, 12 years ago, I wasn't ready for a dissertation. Now I'm ready for a dissertation because I had no distractions. So I wouldn't be able to finish my degree anyway because with my daughter, I got to make sure she's okay, my husband's okay. But when she went to school, there was no distractions. So I was able to get back in, finish in 2 years. I wrote my dissertation it was 9 months. My dissertation was done. I was able to defend on my ninth month, finished, graduated in March of this year. I finished in September of last year. The graduation was in March, but I could not quit. One thing about me, when I start something, I'm going to finish it. It was left over. My daughter would always say, my mom is going to be Dr. Veronica Enzer Johnson. She would constantly say my name. And I kept hearing that. I didn't know when I was going to go back to school. I didn't know how, but God's divine plan always works things out. So when I got back in school, and my pastor is so motivating, she asked me, she said, "What's stopping you from going to school?" I said, "Oh, balance." She said, "Well, pay the balance." I said, "Well, how can I pay the?" She said, "Baby, if you're going to make excuses, just don't get back on this line anymore. It's okay. Just don't worry about doing it." So that shut everything down right there. When my pastor said that to me, I was like, "Oh my God, she don't feel sorry for me." No, she didn't feel sorry for me. So I got back in school, I finished, and God is doing more things for me. And I see other doors are opening, and we'll say that for later. But God's doing a new thing, and I'm grateful for that.
Wow. So how old were you once your daughter graduated and you went back to school to continue like higher
Oh my God,
education?
how old am I now? Oh God, I had to be about 52.
That is
Yes,
like, and that is going to bless somebody listening to this. I
yes.
can't tell you how many people have had something in them, right? That they've known their whole life. I want to go to school. Similar story. There's somebody listening to this podcast, watching this podcast right now, that is a mom, that's a dad, that's an aunt, that's a grandma that had to pick up and do different things for their family, but still feel like there's some things they need to do. And that is just so motivated, and I don't want a PhD, and I'm
Listen,
motivated. Like,
look,
oh my
I don't
God,
quit.
that's so
I don't
awesome.
quit. And
Yeah, I
the thing
love
about
that.
it is, after I failed my test, the 19th time I finally got it. I didn't quit. I'm not one thing I won't do. I won't quit. Okay, God, let's go. And so the devil's like, oh, she ain't gonna finish now. People left the field after the fourth time they failed. Not me. I came back. Come on, God. Let's what we gonna do? I dried my face up and I said, let's get in. I found somebody, found a mentor that could help me study for a test. And we pay for what we want to pay for. He said, well, it's $100. I said, if it's $300 and you're in Dallas, I'm getting ready to drive down the road. So I did what I had to do to prepare myself for the blessing. We got to prepare ourselves for the blessing. So whatever it took me to do is what I was going to do. So for me, now keep in mind, 10 years later, my daughter's in third grade. Now she's a freshman in college. 10 years later, I go back and finish something that I started when she was in third grade. And I told them, I said, I can't start over. I said, I don't, they said, you have to do the tracks. I said, I'll do the tracks, but I'm not doing it. They made me do the 3 tracks that's needed for the writing process of your dissertation. And then they added a couple more classes, but that's all. 2 years, I finished it. I knocked it out. My professor said he had never seen someone that come in and start with their topics and finish. Chapter 1 was done. I mean, and my professors changed. The other guy said, I can't do it because you're doing something different that I can't do. So I got another professor in my mid getting ready to go to my chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Got changed. And it was God said, if I change it up, I'm making it better for you. Don't worry about it. Just walk in your blessing. That's what I can say.
Wow. Well, if from the very moment of those that heard the beginning of this episode, you started with a word, and now we are so clear on what the word triumph looks like.
Yes.
You are the visual of that. And I just want
Yes.
to champion you right now and say thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for not giving up on you. Right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's just seeing you right here now. I know your family is blessed, and I know so many people, but even that are listening today, so thank you for sharing this first part. I want to thank you for your time tonight, and just thank you for your perseverance. Like it's just, so I'm like pumped. I'm ready to. I'm like I don't know what it is. I need to go back and find that I put down, but I definitely know the listeners are tonight. So thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. We're gonna
Thank
say
you.
Dr. Johnson in 2024, right? But thank
Uh-huh.
you so much for all you've done and for your encouraging words to help young educators continue to find and thrive in their career. So with that 5-minute career hack, we thank you for tuning in this week and for this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.